Hello, everybody. Teach you the secret of English grammar. Hello, the species value nature system. This is about the secret of English grammar. This is about how English grammar is a slash the nature of volume, which is self-generated. And this slash is used to teach this. And with the algebraic consciousness of this channel, Anthony Wall. It's user slash Romulus Wall with YouTube. YouTube.com/user slash Anthony Wall. So to all grammatical identities of value and of value transfer associated with the English language and of the value of that, and of the value of that, the discernment of that is to answer all questions with it properly is about how English is in nature of volume. The secret to English grammar is to understanding how all identities of value associated with English grammar are natures of volume, distinctly and non-distinctly, where each one of them is a complete identity of value, distinctly and non-distinctly. That complete identity of value is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to the only semi-nature that is gaining with each value progression. The bond of and the value of the physical English letters is simultaneously the value of words increasing, of subjects, of verbs connected, and or as value slash value nature connected, as it is when there's a verb as a one word sentence. It has to have value and value nature because this is how one identity has value as values nature. We are value nature inside values nature that generated everything. That is generating us. And we are a little bit generating ourselves in as what contributes to as more or last or no words. We're temporary slash lasting nature of positive, that is as criminal and seditious nature positive, as temporary slash lasting negative, as what is temporary positive, through systems. Our systems are value, per a value progression system that markers positions where our tactical ulterior from. Hundreds of nations forced this way and hurt by it, originally instilled in self-valuing that hurt, per phenomena how this connects to fact-shaping nature. In a trap that propagated all to roles and what kept and keeps those roles with life progressions. As life progression cover up nature's needs and styles, in conjunction with, kept in collusion with other missed natures of abuses of each age of fact-shaping nature simultaneous. Exploited breaching method effective originally and still already entrenched here to perpetually exploit each identity of positions, fact-shaping nature, roles with identity thefts, uses of the ground facilitated for other motivations, interest, needs, to hide this and to hide the same breaching method needed here or there, sickly distinctly keep from not distinctly from being discerned. This is where and how English is about the identity the scientists share. There are proofs. I'm not a lawyer. So there are proofs. I didn't read this. That's why the predicate act was still semi-preserved. Understanding about it. The language is individually grouped and together. They have a grouped value, and which is to discern what is positive or negative in relationship to what is the actual value progression system, positive, about positive, as actual science, not pretending to be other, because that can't follow mandated law. That's recorded being That's how they're keeping criminal foreign influences. That's how they're keeping leakers. That's how they're keeping needs for people to hide lies from their states and areas, because they have states and areas animals as criminal and insidious natures, though, as only that really realized natures of security to breaching method roles with the uses of the value of each area, let alone the value of our nature as a value, as science. This is about how we are in nature of volume. Each grammatical value is a nature of volume. Each nature of volume is a gaining value as nature, and as nature as value, and value as nature, as value nature, inside values nature. So the secret about understanding English, for example, the, and a, these are the three articles. The is the definite article. There's only one definite article. A and but if you say and orange, it starts with an O, which is a vowel. So we're going to use and as the indefinite article. The other as one of the indefinite articles. The other indefinite article is a. You're going to use a before consonant, but that's not just because of those physical reasons. This is how these sounds were revealed with an identity of relationship to themselves, more so than they were invented. And this is what they were drawn to teach, which is about this complete nature's complete relationship to itself, in relationship to Earth, simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature, which is what causes positive value nature progressions here, the fruits of evolution or Leith of Hadith. Positive evolution here is the top of the Z. There are proofs that everyone jumps up with passions and associates the word evolution with Darwin and with what they conceive as, with intersciences, internatures of campuses recorded originally still, used to maintain misprision offensive evidence reception predators, originally and still, victim predators, victims but victim predators, everyone. This is what forgiveness is about, because this is an organized crime method. So a predicate act is with the law, a term associated with countering what is behind attributing natures that would commit predicate acts, like male crimes, things like that against people's lives, which hurts a whole bunch of people. And they force people, they use the term job originally and still as what you can't value those kind of pretended justified natures of positive and tell American history at the same time, not by accident. For example, that is used as a tool in conjunction with his on-off campuses maintenance to her where and how they can't get away with how they're maintaining the kids obfuscated from the ability to connect inherent active and progressive correlation natures identities means, because they have the parents of interbranch families using their kids for federal crimes that they're involved recorded with. They're hiding what is actually recorded, and they're pretending things are recorded into databases, interbranch through time, in collusion with fake news, crime acts, steel media, fake conversations, and they're speaking through other people, and the criminally pretend they don't realize. That's recorded because they didn't have a conversation with me. They sequence shifted. They told a whole bunch of different natures of crime acts in the fake news, not just opinions, total made up fake relationships to doctors they attached me to when I was a kid. These are people that recorded crimes at then, since before they did that, while they were doing that, and till then, A whole bunch of nature of crimes in a method recorded juxtaposing people to motivations to identity theft, natures of identity theft, crime acts roles. People doing that in the news, pretending because people were charged for things. They don't understand about all the recorded, confessed, and demonstrated on and off CCSU through time, on and off Trinity College through time. Foreign and domestic maintained collusion, also with overt criminal enterprises. Hartford is small. They give jobs. That's another reason that they use jobs criminally. They give jobs for people going to criminal justice. These are people involved with as victim predators, with involved with on off campuses trained right to lie used criminally. That's not just recorded that with that recorded actual, not just because Comey used it and that's recorded. It's recorded that and how for other natures of personal groups, nation, not just nations, but our police forms and the directives for they have to deal with things that are serious, no doubt. The reason they're so serious, how they're so serious, keeps nations grouped. Counters that are peaceful, but they're still their criminalization is positive, preventing free speech per method, crime methods. Originally still uncharged because of the retired and standing, how they maintain criminally foreign influence with uses of the media. This is not to knock the media. This is to heal them and to show what can't fix their fake news crime acts, identity thefts. They use that to hide lie progressions because they have a whole bunch of names of people that would just, because you know how many people that go to your school, they don't even know you. They're speaking through other people. They're spreading lies. They were using the drug dealing right through the people who are supposed to be countering that. All kind of crimes. They were supposed to report things. People that didn't even go to my school dealing drugs through it. These are people involved with federal crimes, with federal criminals in a 2006 case with former director of the FBI, leading up to it, criminally involved with them, with other courts, with Hartford courts, New Britain Superior Court, Middletown courts, recorded and confessed. All these people that made confessions about how they made, so they influence people to roles with offensive evidence reception predators maintained acting. And they're just typing whole theater and people tied to fake narratives in databases and with sense treatments, qualities of fact treatment that never get beyond stupid because they're criminally foreign influenced. The delusions, wrought intersciences to keep worse than obfuscated the identity the sciences share. Not a doctor, not a police form, not a criminal. This is about the identity logic has that originally instilled. Psychology was criminally foreign influenced, two delusions wrought, and involved criminally with exploitations of juxtaposed natures of crimes, where and how it is simultaneously having exploited and exploiting, how there are types of experts trained, directed, per uncharged, private, everything shared like this. In other words, relied on. So once you're doing that, your roles with other your forced roles reliance on what other people say. They're using that in inclusion with wire crime methods, with identity theft crime acts and crime method roles, method/s roles bonded, original and still that you can't tell. This is American history's course. See, but they're pretending they don't realize that. That's why it's important not to let news steal identities while courts make things up with them. That shows that they're not permitting. They're using words like rhetoric and like semantics criminally. They're using sensibilities pretended when they have crime acts against roles. Facilitate. You see, everyone's victim predators from off campuses. First, from off the ground of campuses. It's nothing personal against Mendez too. That's the name that he had for years. the guy associated with the communications with the media crime acts of many natures of crime acts roles also with those crime acts and lie progression roles WFSP. Now see there with body dumping spots and criminality with a whole bunch of nations, police and foreign and overt criminal enterprises. They're criminally involved through time with forensics places, involved with the many federal criminals that one had a daughter in my grade that were co-defendants of the former director of the FBI, and that had they were facilitated to identity theft crime acts roles with the extended family members of a house in my area involved with a former mayor Gold. I never saw them in the same place, and his cousin I don't know. I barely know him, what he looks like. Phil Clough, also involved with a whole bunch of people with the Delafair family, with they're involved with probate judges and with a whole bunch of people with the prison guards and all associated with medical corruption, fire corruption, intercampuses, foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises through time. These are people with crime roles with identity thefts, database crime roles, all natures of crime roles, with people with Washington, D.C. Trade Center, tied intercities, how they're using the sensibility natures of all standing identities of the ground as value, like identities of law, forcing that pretended to be politics, not letting, of course they're exploited. A breaching method is maintained self value here, originally and still. It's not because we couldn't afford by yet to tell American history properly. It's not complicated. The only way it's extensive is when you leave out the organized crime method against our founders, their torture, how they didn't have free speech, why and how they didn't have free speech, about those laws set up, about those database relationships set up, about how that controlled what people would say, how they would treat positive, how they would defend their own fact treatment natures that way, how that was being used. This was a science. That was sophistication here. What but after it already took first had taken out the sophistication of the standing ground positions of the Native Americans. It is more beneficial, not just probable, that Native Americans, even if it's wrong, this is the position of the campus Marcius, ancient gaming system, one of them, for example, that Native Americans had an original quality of fact treatment nature and of preservation of memory of what had been learned from time, countless ages before the criminal foreign influence of internation sciences, before that states and areas sciences had to be taken to defenses, tactically degraded, you know, and tactically victims of what sustained that made self value, like time, like quality of conversation with why we need to eat food that's good, why we need water that's clean, why we need to afford things and to be able to report things and defend truth where they're exploiting exception natures and sequence shifting and involved with interbranch original and still there and here fake positives in relationship to those natures of differences with fact treatments and as identities of positions, but they're both at the same time in collusion with all these other natures of crime originally still self-value. And that's in conjunction with what we're and how we have states and areas only showing theater allowed. because I have so many hundreds of nations as natures of identities of law with all that undercover stuff, victim predators, child, other natures of child abuse, associated distinctly and non-distinctly sickly, like the overt ones, with people outside of the branches and of this is maintained the outcome from off the ground of education on off campuses consciously. This is using each position, job of time and resources. In other words, they're making those people like evil. It's not just for health reasons, whatever like that. First, you got to eat right then. That's what you're gonna eat. They put out all kinds of things you can't counter because there are too many natures of crimes and crime roles at once, and that they're already involved with on CCSU on Trinity College, used from off campuses criminally. See, that's the problem. They're forcing fights also with people and with identities of campuses. These boys and girls, for different reasons too, all exceptions are being, when they know you have to explain overall things, so they already have set up means to counter that. This is a fact treatment organized crime when it comes to color. When it comes down to it, it's exploited nature of volume that was never liberated. That keeps people pretending liberty is what it's not, as breaching screen roles, as identity theft racket roles. A whole bunch of people associated with a Leahy family, military, police, foreign, and domestic facilitated crime acts roles with this through time. And as the ones with a whole bunch of federal criminals associated with, and as at least three of the co-defendants of Robert Luskin. And with that, what led up to that, another part of the case slash S, which are different cases. These are people with crime acts against me and others on off CCSU, leading up to that, leading up to the Trade Center attack, and leading and in the context and since. Hence. And see, then they make overall allegations. They pretend I'm making allegations. They're not letting crime acts demonstrated. They're lying about what is actually recorded online. Online policing, foreign and domestic. They're not. Their motivations with money, with things like that, with stock market positions of like Facebook. That's in other words, those are motivation stuff like get juxtaposed with the overt criminal enterprises. Before money and things like that, they're keeping standing line progression cover up natures, breaching screens, tools, and roles, preventing our founders' fact treatment nature slavery from being demonstrated. They wanted us to understand and know that. They wanted other modern nations to understand and know that too. They didn't have free speech. We have the phenomenon of it having measuring. You know, this is a database organized crime method. They took liberties for money because we already had value needs to value what you can't defend, value private, juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprise into branch too, especially the private tied to them, like prisons, like campuses. These are crime methods perfected from off campuses, quality of fact treatment nature, quality of investigation into the validity of fact treatments, that they're purposely making mistakes, purposely exploiting exploiting exception nature and offensively, preemptively. This is recorded, but we don't have it reported for crime methods recorded too. The motivations and uses of that. This is non-distinctly every modern nation hurt by this. The secret to English grammar is about how every identity of value is a slash the nature of value, of volume. The identity of it as the identity of it. The bonus secret is that not only is that value, it is a gaining nature of value, as a nature of volume, as nature, as value. And how so? This demonstrates the way of things, vaccine. Ancient gaming system, it only feels like game. This reveals the fruits of evolution. This reveals an identity connected onto all other complete identities, where we are as and how we are semi-nature, to what generated and stays generating its own value progression. It is self-generating. One identity of value, that bonded matter originally. So we'll come to the heartbeat of Allah. This is probably how the ancients told us. Demonstrably, Allah's name was used to teach with English and with yin and yang. Because English was revealed by the nature of sciences that came before the criminal re-engineering of international sciences. That only let realized, forced realized, persuaded only let realized, tricked, hurt only let realized worse. Natures of positive that you can't defend, and from what exploits standing pseudo-positive roles, lie progressions with all areas from the tactically denatured relationship to nature. Maintain self-value. We have homes since before cars were built, forced to the pathology of infrastructure that was stay valued, self-valued, since before cars were even around. And these houses, we expanded a little bit. The pathology stayed. The zoning laws stayed. Criminally foreign influence, tactically denatured relationship to nature. This was forced not only before cars, before our founders' births. If anyone was found out to talk about other, that was it. In other words, they were slaves. They weren't free to. They had witch trials. Even if they made up, especially if they made up the witch trials. Because the way they test things, vaccines, the way they test things, who are they to say we're not counting? What they're testing means what they say it does. In other words, that we have ill experts, all victim predators. What's that keep? It's other natures of election crimes. It's other natures of crimes, election crimes, before and after, while and as elections. In other words, whoever wins, they're keeping them. Roles with threats as fake sides that are maintain valuing that, because Russia is here further, and we are there further, criminally will involved with psychology, and especially with the ones with badges with that, especially ones sick with that respect the badges with that, because those are recorded ill people. That's per crime acts and crime methods recorded, for them forging names and switching names with various natures of courts. One-way reports, they have all kinds of natures of crime method roles, with houses and with businesses on off, uses of the area on off, and online and in media, with the location next to Hartford Hospital, near other medical campuses, fired near other fire departments, near other ages of campuses, natures of campuses, private and other, maintained in collusion with what maintained originally and still interbranch worse than knaves, breaching screens and breaching tools. valuing jobs as natures as of criminal insidious as nature positive. I'm not a lawyer now, please form not criminal. Boxings, their physical delusions wrought as well, valuing that into sciences because how everyone is maintained victim predator, filtered to roles, needs, and natures to hide the same life progressions. Individual, grouped active, progressive, and the value of that progressively negative value nature as a relationship to this identity that controls what is temporary slash lasting positive, as what invention is going to work or not. Visible but indiscernible this. Which can have the invention further positive or negative in relationship to itself, invisible but discernible. Its identity of relationship to itself, invisible but discernible. The value of that, invisible but still discernible. And the value of that to what? Invisible, discernible. And the value of that complete, invisible but discernible. The difference between its complete nature of relationship to it itself and its complete nature as its complete nature, and the difference between its complete nature of relationship to itself and as its semi-natures, which they can only be its complete nature when they are two simultaneously distinct semi-natures, which is how we have three dimensions that are discernible. And then, in other words, we have five dimensions of sequence nature, five semi-natures of sequence nature, which is the one is one sequence nature that all like one identity shares all the complete identities of the body as semi-nature relationships to itself. That each self is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to the identity that is the phenomenon of the value of Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space. This where even down to temperature, it shows that everything inherently, actively, and progressively one course. See, too long, humanity, one little species, was negative value nature, caused to value the value of Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct means to expand the nature of volume that is also positive onto it per its system. Here, so we were forced away from here as temporary slash lasting negative value nature leads to IDs. Earth's value goes through us, one little species, because the rest of Earth has no criminal foreign influences. These are self-valued here. It's all right, you have opinions, people, but see, it's so bad that people are so invested to those opinions ill that when someone needs to demonstrate it, our American history true, how you can see liars with the correlation with by the identity theft of our founders is identity theft of American history, which is recorded insidiously in relationships to passions, emotions that can't they need to hide from the background, pretend they're hiding that as what pretends it's sophistication to itself and to others. This was sophistication here first. Maintain well, propagated that self-cultivated roles, valuing that only let realized, forced with the factory nature slavery, not only the slavery of our founders, their identity stolen. They say, oh, they have money stolen. You know what a headache it is? You know, a whole bunch of hundreds of nations lying together and each of them pretending other. And that's valued because they have disputes and they have that juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones, hiding life progressions tied to databases tied to their uses of the value of areas, of their value of treatments of each individual, group dash sex, each sequence value, each campus value, identity of each campus. They care about it as criminal serious natures. They're using WFSB, Fox CT, recorded confessed, involve crime rolls with houses on off the campuses. I don't want to go into their names. They're needing that so because then they get people upset. I have their name. They have other people liking it because they need to pretend they had conversations with me because that's how they need to hide their life progressions. That's why they put the various natures of crime acts where they prevent me from free speech by attaching me and my family members to fake words, to fake sequence relationships, to fake relationships to others. I caught them with all natures of behavior crimes with the kids. I'm not even a doctor. I'll delineate their physical delusions recorded, juxtaposed with their crime methods and crime roles with various natures of court, originally still. Crime acts roles with the sensibilities of people on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off houses next to it, criminally involved, and with houses on and off Two Route Highway, and with this Phil Cololo and other extended family members of the houses here involved further with the child offenders, and with people criminally involved with the transition from ACA to RICO, and with body dumping spots, recorded and confessed involved with a Enzo Fienzo, and foreign and domestic police, male and female, and their family members, various natures of roles with campuses criminally used. Crime acts roles since before the Trade Center attack in the context, a whole bunch of different ways proven and further recorded. And missed because they're lying and pretending other things recorded as being coached to it. Per how the juxtaposed natures of overt criminal enterprises and private ones too. When you see how they're motivated, recorded to crime acts in the background, they pretend hate, they pretend things like that because they have criminal needs too. Because of how our police forms distinctly and non-distinctly, and interbranch police, interbranch roles, in private and foreign, where our kept needing to hide life progressions from other natures of crimes that came before all the overt criminal enterprises. That stays with it because that's more what is needs it than money. Than in other words, than drugs. What is really furthering this stuff? This is to the maintenance of pseudo positive roles. Whereas how positive is also no, I'm not going to just take positions against treatments on English, self-obfuscated with each of the sciences. The identity of positive is the engineering of positive. I'm not a doctor on that. Demonstrably, the ground is value charged by what generated it, bonded for self generation, which generated matter, which is generating it now as value. Is why we need clean water. Or we see negative value nature progressions when we value nature systems that don't value that. This is a tactical utilitarian. These are tactical utilitarian from the one that causes positive value nature progressions. And real evolution. We have physical delusions maintained self-cultivated through criminal foreign influence crime methods regarding when terms like evolution are brought up. Exploiting tricks with the name, I forgot his name now, Charles Darwin. I didn't even read it. It's not important. Evolution is a value, in other words, Evolution comes from this. Our nature's identity of relationship to itself. When it is positive, this nature's identity of relationship to itself when it is positive always, as exception nature at the same time. That nature of truth is a value when we're having using subject, when we're discerning the value of each letter, how they have a shared identity distinctly and non-distinctly. So we can see not just how it is value as nature and nature's value, but how is it gaining nature of volume, how it is, not just why it is. That's the course. That's the difference between what causes positive and negative value, nature, progressions, evolution. We have a exploited nature of volume, breaching organized crime, torture method, slavery method, maintain self-value. Our founders wanted us to demonstrate that. George Washington said he did not chop down the cherry tree. He did not chop down fake branches in Connecticut. I don't know if he meant it or not, but that's true. George Washington reported wanted us to demonstrate he did not chop down fake branches. That's why I had to leave overt slavery. They didn't know who forced everyone to roles and to other needs to react and to pretend that they didn't understand how they were forced to revolution. That counter exploited what was exploiting how nations were forced individually grouped and all together, each modern nation blaming other things, others themselves, for the real causes of negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and natures, like criminal insidiousness natures, predatory acts with state scenarios, sequence shifting natures, name switching natures, database crime, predator. The real causes of it being an organized crime method that maintained each identity of the ground, each identity of the law, each identity of the sciences, needing to hide life progressions. Roles with overt criminal enterprises facilitated for that to be exploited in a method that's needed, same criminal uses of the identities of the ground. They influence you that they have that standing people, quality of fact, human nature needs insidious. Positive, positive forsaken. In other words, they need no free speech with its simultaneously inherent active and progressive means that are capable instantly to the youngest kid. See, but no one can take that with the identities of law, identities of theater, as theater, with everything they say. Pretending it's because they're trying to protect themselves from getting sued, things like that. They're recorded and confessed about with that criminally involved with their ad companies. Ad companies are involved with the police forms, foreign and domestic, using them as tools, as weapons, as breaching screens, means to whether with their identity thefts. This black and white was identity theft against everyone. This is nations of multicultural, already criminally foreign influence, victims too, but victim predators per the devil and organized crime method. This even if this is untrue, this is more feasible, and this is demonstrably in relationship to how modern religions are demonstrably about criminally foreign influence sciences that were recorded that came before them. So we have what? Criminal foreign influenced fact cheating nature, quality of fact cheating nature. So we have problems blamed on other things other than themselves, not by accident. That value facilitated only they realized. Religion and values each other doing that. Each area and state. The pathology since before cars forced per breaching method. No one think about building another nature of houses. You see what I'm saying? Pathology tactically denatured. This is built to cause negative value nature progressions. In that are lie progressions. In that are lie progression cover up natures. Needs and roles with what is feeding into that. What keeps fakes offensive, pretending other. So then people either need to fight with them and have their themselves described, you know, in wrongly, purposefully, in collusion with what is stacking databases and has been doing that. Not just inter campuses, but on and off the campuses, in relationship to depositions, even in relationship to in cases, even in the communications with those people. Totally made up per categorically directed to be made up criminally against each agent fact treatment nature. Through time, we have criminal CCSU involved with all natures of police forms. We have all these campuses, interstates, internations, in collusion with each other, as natures, where it becomes a small world, and they make the mistakes there. Whereas how they did these this crime method slash S, these are all verbal federal crimes. Their motivations missed. These are all wrongdoers in collusion with interbranch criminally foreign influenced, intermilitary criminally foreign influenced. They're military too. Their shared policing of the same on-off campuses too. Their shared policing of prisons too. Their shared policing of those police. Those people are involved with intercampuses, bad things, uses of each age of fact treatment nature simultaneously, as the ones letting get away with things, but they're doing it to, as one's getting hurt with it too, valuing it, because these are hurting each age of fact treatment nature. These are not means, not just for the north end of Hartford, all Hartford actually, but especially the north end of Hartford. Distinctly, non-distinctly, especially parts of Hartford, Park Street. You know, there's a I forget Sullivan, I think is his name, something like that, Sully or something like that, from a tiki bar or something with a Lena's Pizza on Park Street. His wife and a bunch of her other boyfriends at a wedding they had. That, no, was if that was made up or what they were doing there, because they have a whole bunch of crime rules with judges and with courts, prosecutors, and stuff like that, and their family members involved with child offenders, various natures of crimes, police families, private, foreign, and domestic. One tried to kill a guy. Describes this to foreign. They abuse all age of girls. They scare them with these are threats and demonstrations they use against women with knives. And then you try to explain how you get in a fight about reactions to it, because they force reactions where they're forcing women to lie because everyone's a liar. So everyone lies together. You know, but these are with the courts involved with other branches criminally already. Forging names, switching names, stacking databases with crime acts. There's a Detective Samuda also criminally involved. Further, with recorded, proven, he's involved with proven crimes with proven child offenders. Other natures of crimes, though. His crimes are with faking police reports, faked arresting officer of me, with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic police forms, drug clicks, foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises, people with crimes with police forms, interbranch, foreign and domestic military, on and off CCSU, intercities. See, they have little crime methods where they have strangers make confessions and ask me to pretend things for them. Because in other words, and then if you then you try to do that, then they can't take the way you try to do it, so they try to make up you and they attach you to fake locations, fake relationships to people that just because they went to the same school you pretend they had a conversation with you, just because someone knew you from your school, because they walked by you one time, you know what I'm saying, or two times, things like that. The every exception in criminally exploited because they set that up through time like that. Per what exploited the men and women involved now, hurting other people's kids, using their own criminally now to hide their life progressions because they spoke through everyone else. I don't know the Mazzucato family, Sardellis. I don't know. That's another one. I don't know their names. I think the Clo family said their name before. And they're involved with confessions, demonstrations of an O'Brien family and of a Debbie Gold that told a whole bunch of lies behind my back, pretended I had conversations with her before that. She's involved with people that do a crime method like with sequence shifts, where they have interbranch families confess and demonstrate what they also misprision and pretend to be against. Everyone's speaking to each other like that. This is worse than a torture method. These are natures of child abuse that also lifted predators with elderly homes, with treatments of times all way too fast, too slow, hurting forever nature. I mean, we should fear God for the sick nature of organized crime. Roles let self-valued here, left self-valued here, and all that to it. Because you can't even free speech. The fake news was demonstrated, influenced to pretend that they're about free speech as a crime method, knowing that they stole my identity, knowing that that they have ill police, associate ill identities of the law, recorded. They're lying about online policing. They're using behavior they're pretending is hate crime against groups that are recorded being used as liars, and whereas and how they're being used to block and sustain impositions and worse, blocking people from reporting forced sustained crime acts against each age of fact treatment nature in ourselves, in the whole areas. These are other natures of election crimes, lying about me with sick fake punks into branch in the background, and we're even using their kids, having used their kids criminally. Fake news, crime acts, attaching me to fake relationships to doctors as a kid, fake mental diagnosis. We have sick fakes with physical delusions and crime acts against me, forging names, switching names with various natures of courts criminally involved. These are people involved criminally from Connecticut into branch and into military, foreign and domestic, then leading up to in the Trade Center attack context, with proven afterwards post-dated documents from inside the Ninth Circuit already had been time stamped on time from inside the Ninth Circuit. Then they were post-dated from inside the Ninth Circuit and presented to the panel of judges in the Trade Center attack context as if they'd been filed late. That was proven after. With that proven, led up to a 2006 case with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. He's recorded and confessed involved with at least three of his co-defendants. He had, I don't remember. And I mean, it's recorded. They lie about what's recorded too. They pretend they forgot that things were proven that weren't. These are people involved with overt criminal enterprises, other nations' policing of streams of money through time, criminal uses of on-off job sites, on-off campuses. They're criminally involved with more Weathersfield police, the police chief, retired and standing police forms associated with him. Further, with the Facebook page of Highcrest School, criminally with Joshua Julian, with their crimes with overt criminal enterprises, and with other people recording and confessed drug crime rolls with kids with him. Various natures of drug crime rolls with doctors and with overt drug crimes with the same cliques criminally involved. Also evidence crimes. Also on-off CCSU crimes. On-off Paul Manafort drive crimes. Criminal uses of the people watching to tow people. Uses of, all that. Security is used criminally. Originally and still. Worse than compromised. All private with the campuses. Used criminally. They want to, we got to deal with crime acts. They need to keep everyone layered. Sensibilities reacting to what other people told them. They're stacking people fake names. They're sharing names. This is a sharing names problem with the people with the New York, Connecticut intercampuses connected insidiously, categorically, and sequentially in time. Shared names and things like that. Crime Acts rolls with databases, with confessions regarding the various natures of courts now criminally involved. I didn't understand the depth. I didn't understand all that tied to it at the time. I later found out it was tied to the courts that were criminally involved with the depositions leading up to the 2006 case with the people associated with the Trade Center attack context. And then with their co-defendant in that part of the case, with which is former director of the FBI Robert Luskin. And then crime acts further with Connecticut interbranching with fake news, preventing me from countering because they also have wire crime acts. Because if you call up the report, actually recorded crime acts, they attach you to fake words and pretend that's recorded. They lie about what's actually recorded. For the depth of all the people criminally involved with former director of the FBI, other FBI and the family members in the area and their neighbors, criminally used too. See, now this is how we have the problem with the child offenders through time. Now they're reliant upon how other nations will go, see, you guys are knaves. You guys aren't positive. They're involved with keeping that because their knaves there too. You see what I'm saying? That's what we have shared policing of policing, of training of them on off campuses stay. He many prayed. Rob Rodriguez recorded and confessed involved with more of the child offenders. We see women in his family, foreign and domestic, involved with shared policing, with nurses, cliques, and stuff like that. Natures of jobs and that are maintained all time treatments. They are elderly homes, time treatments, food. These are killers. Right where bodies go out. Same people involved with crime rolls with overtly criminal body dumping spots through time, like Billy Grasso. The same people involved with police crimes with that originally still involved now with child offender crimes. Crimes with the same ones involved with the Trade Center investigators. Crime Acts rolls with a whole bunch of federal criminals that were facilitated crimes with each of the campuses I went to through a house in my area. And these verbal crimes. See, they use everyone as victim predator because the way the other people tied to the former director of the FBI, and his defendant capacities, criminally involved with other police forms. And see, then they're preventing this from being reported, and they're lying about what is actually recorded, like with two Mendez brothers, and that's tied to how that one Mendez guy, with the communications, had the name Mendez. See, because these are fact treatment nature rackets too. They're recorded, confessed victim predators, influenced to use the word rhetoric and communications and semantics criminally. In other words, they're criminally exploiting exception nature, sequence nature true. They're involved with identity thefts. They're facilitated to it. So then this is not personal at all. may say, "Oh, you shouldn't make hateful statements." That's because they're doing sequence shifts. They're stealing people's identities. They're stealing free people's means to free speech, needs to counter their database crimes. My English grammar is pure. I teach it better than anyone else. Every identity or value of English is about the nature of volume. Is about a slash the nature of volume, which is self-generating, which is a gaining nature of volume, which is how we are value as a quality of fact, treatment nature. So each closet only fills. Every time we make a word, if we can't make a word, the value of English gains. As more positive or as more negative. With a bonded relationship to the value of Latin, so people can sue, or not, I mean, so have a right to, they don't let them have the right anyway, to have a pen. And they only show people really, really crazy and already stuck in jails for lives because of it. Not crazy, but crazy because they were tactically pseudo-educated, hurt by a breaching method because that needs them for fact treatment nature. They're exploiting exceptions. Because then when people come into courts, they come into jails that are innocent, they need to prevent them for years, every single day, every moment, not to be allowed to have a pen. They need everyone outside of the jails to think that these people can get education in jail. Huh. They don't. They're only allowing to survive criminal seriousness nature. Sickly. They don't care anything about prejudice. They're using value of fake identities as as prompted to by breaching method maintained. Breaching screen fake patriotism natures. Breaching weapons, breaching tools, criminal seriousness natures. Everyone with their opinions. They failed to counter to explain what organized crime method used those crazy laws. They don't even let them understood because they want to keep the black, what it was used for. They want to keep that so they could, play stupid theater when the whole time all we have to do is say, look, this nature of volume is exploited over here. This is a tactically denatured relationship to nature, like every nature of city, but this is worse. And this is only afforded as the pathology that was forced since before our founders, since before cars, with their torture. We have it glorified. We have it valued. We have cars now. Not by accident, we have little facades of businesses, fake difference. Same thing across the board of nations. Ill. Humanity is in a negative identity of negative value nature progression. Fear. It's wise right here. Campus Marcius calls you home to game. Go train. Play your game. Yes. Attend. Campus Marcius calls you home again.